everyone, welcome to another Victober vlog. It is Sunday the 12th. I ended up skipping yesterday, Saturday, entirely. I did no reading. I did not much, to be perfectly honest. I napped for 2 hours and we started rewatching Stranger Things in preparation for the new season. So I started the vlog today instead of yesterday. However, on Friday night, after I finished the first vlog, I did finish up the Memoirs of Sherlock Holmes by Arthur Conan Doyle. And I had a wonderful time with it. I gave it 5 stars. I think in this collection, there are not as many of my favorite stories as there were in The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. However, I mean, The Final Problem is so good. It's so good. So on my bingo card, I'm putting it up here, you can see I've got 3 squares marked off. I have used the Sherlock Holmes collection for Roz's challenge of empire spotting because there were so many signs of empire. It was just all over the place. There was one story, The Crooked Man, I think it was, which I think I had read before, but I straight up didn't remember it at all, but okay. And it was largely concerned with something that occurred during the Indian Mutiny, and there was a mongoose in it named Teddy, which I now want a mongoose named Teddy. Anyway, so yeah, I'm using that on the bingo card for empire spotting. And I am trying to do 1 per prompt on the bingo card, but if later in the month I haven't managed that, I'll start doubling up. I've actually fulfilled 7 of the challenges, so I have reached Sherlock Holmes level, but I want to see how many I can do with like individual works. So today I am going to be continuing with Hester, which I am up to chapter 21. Since I didn't read yesterday, I am a little bit behind, but I'm gonna catch up on that quickly. So I'll read 4 chapters of this today. And then I'm also gonna be starting my book for Melena's challenge, which was to spin a color wheel and pick a book that has that color on the cover. So in my TBR, I had put my options as Wives and Daughters by Elizabeth Gaskell, which would have been a reread, or The Portrait of a Lady by Henry James, which would not be a reread. However, when I was doing that, I was only thinking of my physical TBR, and I was not considering books that I am reading online or as ebooks. And I remembered that the cover that I am using for Charlotte Riddle's The Rich Husband is brown with gold bordering. This is a book that is on my 50 books to read in 2025 list, and I do want to get to it, and I do want to read more by Charlotte Riddle, who is one of my dissertation authors. So I decided I'm going to use that for this prompt. Now, unfortunately, I have to read The Rich Husband on my computer through Google Books because there's no Kindle version available, and yeah. So that kind of sucks, but because I don't really like reading on my computer, I like to go and read on my couch, and I can't really bring the computer on the couch. I mean, I could, but I don't. So I don't know. But that's what I'm gonna be doing for now, and then we'll see if I pick up anything else in between. I've got some plays that are options. I have, I still want to read Miss Austen and Miss Mitford by Margaret Oliphant to fulfill Catherine's challenge, and that will also be on my computer, so maybe I'll do that this week. Yeah, so that's what I'll be reading. If you're hearing a bunch of crackling in the background, it is because my husband is crackling a bag of chips inconsiderately. Yeah. All right. I will see you soon for another update. Hello everyone, it is now Tuesday, October 14th, and I am back in my regular filming spot because I'm doing my regular videos, and I figured I would give you an update. I am up to date on Hester. Well, up to date as of yesterday. I need to do my chapters for today, but it's only 10 in the morning, so I have time. So I am up to chapter 27. On page 262, and things are starting to heat up. Edward is doing some stuff that he shouldn't be doing, in my opinion. And the conflict between Hester and Catherine is kind of almost boiling over, I would say. There is an incident where Hester is at a ball and is wearing her mother's pearls, and Catherine sees her, and so she should not be wearing them. And this gets back to Hester, and she is rather indignant. So, still loving this, loving it. The discussion on Discord is so interesting. I've been reading through it. I haven't been contributing much because it moves so quickly. But I have been reading through. People have varying feelings towards Catherine. Some really hate her and some really like her. Some people think she has treated Edward wrongly, and other people feel that Edward is treating her wrongly. I'm trying to be vague to avoid spoilers, obviously. Something that did come up is someone noted that Oliphant was in a position kind of similar to Catherine, where she was supporting all this extended family, which is really interesting considering Catherine's attitude toward her extended family in this. And I actually see many autobiographical aspects of Oliphant in Catherine. And I think I might actually do a whole video on it later this month, because it's really interesting. I say later this month as if we're not already halfway through the month. What the heck? I hate that. October should last longer. October should last for 2 months so that we can have Victober for 2 months. But that's just my opinion. But yeah, keep an eye out for that video because I think I'm gonna be doing that. So yeah, loving Hester still. So good. Oh. And I also started The Rich Husband by Charlotte Riddle. I am up to chapter 7, not even 100 pages in, and this book is already so depressing. We have had 4 character deaths. We are not even 100 pages in. There have been 4 character deaths. Like, what? Charlotte Riddle, what are you doing to me here? My God. We've mostly been we were introduced to these sisters, and we seem to be following the descendants of the sisters. They all, or well, two of them seem to have married for money, and the marriages were unhappy. And then they both died of consumption. One died of complications in childbirth that I think was caused by, it's kind of hard to tell. One is definitely consumptive. The other definitely did die in childbirth. And we have this whole big scene of a storm raging outside while this is happening. And the child gets their old Welsh nurse is like, wow, this child's cursed. It's very gothic in that scene. A lot of it does take place in Wales. But then we skip a bunch of years, and the daughter of the consumptive one runs away with a farmer's son to Gretna Green and is disowned by her father. And then she has two children, and then when her husband dies, her father says, I'll take you back if you disown your children, and she does. So now we have these two orphaned children. I'm like, oh my God, we're going through so many changes in class status, so this is great for Marissa's prompt. I'm only 70 something pages in, and there's been at least 3 changes in class status, if not more. Like, goodness. And 4 deaths. Like, geez. I can't really tell where we're going yet. This is one of Riddle's pretty early novels. So I've read 2 full novels by her before. A Struggle for Fame, which is later in her career, and then The Moors and the Fens, which was another early one, written a few years before The Rich Husband. And The Moors and the Fens, I thought, suffered from a lack of focus, and I am kind of thinking that that's what's happening here too. So I think my next Riddle book is going to be one of her later ones, again, to see how she's developed. I mean, not that I'm not enjoying this, it's very interesting. I'm like, where are we going? Who are we going to be following? What is the plot? The plot that is listed on the Goodreads summary for this is not the plot so far, doesn't even have the correct character names. So I don't know if it's just we're not introduced to that part yet, or if the Goodreads summary is just for a different book. But yeah, it's kind of crazy. So that's where I am at. I will see you soon for another update. Hello everyone, it is now Thursday, I think the 16th, maybe, I think so, I don't know anymore. And you just saw me open some rather exciting mail. My bound copy of my dissertation came, And I am so excited to have this. I thought it was gonna be bigger because the printed out copy that I have is so long, but I mean, this is double-sided, whereas mine is not double-sided, so I guess that's why. But yeah, it's so cool, and it's got like the gold title and the gold name. I wish it had it on the front too, but we can't get everything that we want in life, I guess. But I'm just really happy to have this. And it's like it's a thing. I'm holding it. I'm like, wow. Like, it has a table of contents. Oh, I just showed you my entire committee page too. Oh well, they're all public figures. And the dedication I have to my aunt. I'm just, oh, and let's look at my graphs. I bet my graphs look so cool. Where are my graphs? Look at my graphs. I'm so happy. I'm so happy it finally came. I also got my diploma yesterday. I'm not gonna show you that because it's just a big piece of paper. A fancy big piece of paper, but just a big piece of paper. It's also up on a shelf where the cats can't get at it. So that was very exciting. So for Victober reading updates, I am actually, I think, ahead of schedule in Hester because I read quite a lot in the hour that I had to spend waiting in the waiting room at the doctor's office for my 11:30 appointment when I did not get seen until almost 12:30. It's fine. So I am up to chapter 35. And because today is the 16th, it is actually the 16th, I got that right. We should be on chapter 32, so I'm a few chapters ahead of schedule. And it's heating up. It's heating up real good. I'm like, okay, I remember this part now, and I think I remember what happens from here out, although not like nitty-gritty details. But I'm excited. I'm excited to see it play out again. It's just such a good book. So that's going on. I also read the article in Blackwoods magazine, Miss Austen and Miss Mitford by Margaret Oliphant. It is a look at Jane Austen and also Mary Russell Mitford, another early 19th century woman writer. And Oliphant was writing the article because James Edward Austen Lee's A Memoir of Jane Austen had just come out, and an edition of the letters of Mary Russell Mitford had also just come out. So it wasn't quite reviewing them, although it was. Like, it talked about both of those works, but then it also talked about the biography of both of the authors and some discussion of their like literary criticism, basically. So it was enjoyable. I will admit to have skimmed more of the Mitford parts because I haven't read Mitford. I don't know anything about her, and I was really there for Jane Austen because this was obviously to fulfill Catherine's challenge. I did not always agree with Margaret Oliphant. Her reading of Pride and Prejudice and my reading of Pride and Prejudice are very different. Like, she doesn't think that Elizabeth and Darcy are interesting characters in their own right, and that they things that make Pride and Prejudice a great book, because she admits it's Austen's greatest book. She thinks the things that make it a great book are the background characters. All of the minor characters like Mr. Collins and Mrs. Bennet and Lydia and all of them. I don't think I quite agree with that. I think a lot of the popularity of Pride and Prejudice has to do with the leading couple. But I think I know why Oliphant would not see that, and it's because you will notice if you are reading Hester, if you've read many of her other books, she's really not very big into romance. I know some people were really hoping for romance in Hester. I won't say anything, but like Oliphant's love stories are like, they're not even secondary. They're like tertiary to the rest of the book. Like in Miss Marchbanks, the marriage that happens at the end, it is so like blasé, because the love is not the point there. There are some books where characters don't get married at all. The only Salem Chapel doesn't have a love story. It has a character that's in love with another character, but it's not a love story. The Perpetual Curate does have a romance, but again, like, it's really secondary. So I think because Oliphant wasn't big on that, she didn't really like pick up on what a great romantic couple Elizabeth and Darcy are. I don't know. She was very complimentary of Emma, which does deserve all praise. It was interesting. She found Emma like a lot lighter than Pride and Prejudice. And I see what she means. She also thought the humor toward like some of these satiric characters was less mean in Emma, which I guess I also agree with, because even the characters who were supposed to kind of like roll our eyes at, like Miss Bates, she's treated kindly by the author. Like, yes, she's made fun of, but she's also treated kindly, whereas we're just like mercilessly dragging Mr. Collins. So Oliphant talked about that. She was so dismissive of the other books, and I was like, girl, no. Like Mansfield Park, she was like, ugh. And I was like, I understand the temptation to do that, but also. What I find really interesting about this is that I see Oliphant as someone who is so inspired by Jane Austen. But I guess I do see that she was inspired mostly by Emma. The aspects of Austen's work that I see in Oliphant are things that are mainly in Emma. They're in all of Austen's works, obviously, but like the small town life, the kind of the satirical portraits of people, like so I think she was very much inspired by Emma. So yeah, I didn't always agree with her, but it was interesting to see her perspective. And and her kind of like hating on these two books that have just been published. She's like, she refers to James Edward Austen Leigh's writing as like a feeble attempt to shine light on his aunt's character or something to that extent. Feeble was definitely used. I was like, okay. Margaret Oliphant was really weird with biographies and autobiographies. Like, if they didn't give enough info on the author, like she didn't like John Cross's biography, or John Cross's The Life and Letters of George Eliot, because she felt that he didn't give them enough of the real George Eliot. But she also didn't really like Elizabeth Gaskell's The Life of Charlotte Bronte because she felt like it aired too much of the family's misfortunes. So like she wants this really specific balance of the personal and the not personal. And I don't know if anybody's able to meet that balance, with maybe the exception of herself in her own autobiography. Although even that, I don't know. It was published after her death, so who knows? And the letters of Miss Mitford, she was like, I don't see why we need these. She's like, I don't see why we need these prattling letters to her parents. It's like, geez, Olivant. She can be she can be harsh. So I had a lot of fun reading that. It was also funny, in the same issue of Blackwoods that Miss Austen and Miss Mitford is in, it opens with a portion of a serialized novel called John, and that is also a Margaret Oliphant book. I'm like, girl, how much of this issue did you write? There is like a rumor that there is one issue of Blackwoods that was just entirely Margaret Oliphant, but scholars don't seem to think that's actually true, but we don't know. It could be. She did contribute to them a lot. So that's where I'm at in Victober. Here's my little updated bingo card with Catherine's challenge checked off. I think, going to obviously continue with Hester and continue with The Rich Husband, which I haven't picked up since I last updated you. But I think I'm also gonna start on the Oscar Wilde plays. I think that will be the next thing that I go for. So I will see you soon with another update. Hello again, everyone. So it is now about 6 p.m. on Friday the 17th, and this is going to be the last update on this vlog. I'm going to edit it tonight and get it up tomorrow. We're in my usual filming space, but without having cleaned things up, as you can see. This is what things actually look like on a day-to-day basis. And the lighting in my apartment sucks, especially at night, and I didn't bother with the ring light. So I decided, since the last time I talked to you, to pick up the 2 plays that I wanted to read by Oscar Wilde. So first I read Salome, which is based on a biblical story and counted for Jess's challenge of reading a piece of historical fiction. That was an odd play. That was really weird. Not what I expected at all, really. It was only 1 act, so it was very short. It was like 30 pages. I gave it 3 stars. I didn't really know what to do with it. It was just again, as with most plays, I'm like, I would be interested to see it performed, because the stage directions that he did give, especially at the very end, everything goes dark, and Salome is speaking, and then a beam of moonlight goes on her. Moonlight. So I would love to see it performed. I think that would be very interesting. But like, it was definitely not a favorite. So I finished that pretty quickly, and then I started on An Ideal Husband, which I am not even done with the first act yet. I have a few more pages of Act 1, and there's 4 acts in that. So far we've just been introduced to a whole lot of people, and there's a woman trying to blackmail a guy. basically. So, okay. Not as funny as his others so far. And I kind of felt that way about, I think it was A Woman of No Importance too. That it wasn't as funny as, definitely not as funny as The Importance of Being Earnest, and not even as funny as Lady Windermere's Fan. But I'm interested to see where it goes from here, and that will be in the next vlog. So I've got my updated bingo card right here. I've got another challenge checked off with Jess's challenge. I am moving right along. So I think that brings me, not on the bingo card, but in general, to a total of 9 challenges completed. So I am almost there. I am almost to Dracula level. But of course, I am trying to get to Dracula level with only 1 book per or work per prompt, I should say. All right, so it has been a great second week, or a great second full week of Victober, and I will see you soon for another Victober vlog. Bye.